Hey there, welcome back. So in this video we'll start creating that My Studio page. Okay, so I'll go to the pages section. Okay, and then I will create a new folder called studio, and in that I'm going to create dynamic id.tsx so that we can accommodate all projects in that page. Okay, so new folder studio, and in that I'm going to create a file name called id.tsx. okay, fine. So here let's name the component name as studio page, and for this the input params that we would be expecting is the project object, and then as image input available. Okay, and this would be of type iStudio page props, okay, which we have defined in the types.ts file. Okay, so let me import that. Yep. Okay, then after this I'm going to wrap whatever we are going to include in this page inside our project provider, which I've just created. Okay, so that is project provider, and for that input is the project object, and inside this we are going to wrap a page container, and now inside this a box component, and give some styling for this, that is margin bottom as 4. Okay, and first thing that we'll be showcasing here is the button, kind of like navigating back to dashboard, that is back to dashboard. So I will configure a button. Okay, so let's give the color it as a beach, some 500. Okay, yep, and the left icon, let's give it as arrow left. Fine, and variant, make this act as a link. Okay, and href, it has to go back to our dashboard page, so that is slash dashboard, and make it act as next link component. Okay, and the text of this button is back to dashboard. Okay, so now let's go back to the our project card. Okay, and in for the button view my studio, let's configure this URL which we have just created. Okay, so that is slash studio slash slash studio white. Okay, it will be slash, sorry guys, so we have to wrap first inside the curly brackets and then slash studio and the project ID. Okay, that is project dot id. Okay, so now let's check it out. For now we should be able to see the back to dashboard text and the arrow left icon. Okay, so let's going back to our browser. So now if I click on this, ideally it should take us to our studio page. Okay, I should export it, so 1 second. So going back to our studio section, so I should export this, export default studio page. Okay, so now let's head back, and okay, So you see here there is undefined value inside our project context. So for that, to facilitate, so let's head back to our the id page. Okay, here using the server side props, okay, we are going to get the detail about a project and the variable as input image available. Okay, so that detail will be getting using get server side props. Okay, so export async function get server side props, and this would receive input param context of type get server side props context. Okay, and first let's get the session object by making use of get session function and passing in our request object context dot request, and then the project id from context.query.id as a string, and after this, if there is no session, then we will redirect the user to the login button. Okay, so return redirect permanent false. Okay, and here destination to our login page. Okay, fine. So this is if a session object is null. Okay, then now we are going to get the project details. Okay, so await db dot project. Okay, so let's import db from core. Okay, yep, so db dot project dot find first row, and here based on the project id and user id, that is session dot user id, and then model status has to be succeeded. Okay, then after that we are going to include the count of shots left. Okay, so here shots true. Okay, fine. After that, from shots table we are going to order by created at descending order, and then we are going to take shots per page. So let's import that. Okay, so import so heading back to our project context. Okay, here I will export this. So now we're going to make use of that shots per page. Okay, and skip 0, and finally order the overall from projects table by created at descending order. Okay, fine. So once we make the query, if there is no project that is not found, so we are going to return not found as true. So that is not found as true. Okay, fine. So now we'll focus on getting as input image available by talking to replicate client. Okay, so let's name this as model. So data we receive from replicate client, rename that as to model, and make use of replicate client get. Okay, and make API call, that is API dot replicate .com/v1 models and pass in our username. So that is replicate username and the project ID and versions, and pass the model version ID which we have in our project object. So yep, so this is going to give us the data. Okay, and now we are going to confirm if as input image is available or not, and store that in a variable called as image input available. So that is as image input available, and this would be of type boolean. So here model dot open API schema and check in their components property, and also check in the schemas. Okay, and check in the input properties, and even check in the image dot title. So this is nothing but if this property exists, then will be confirmed that that image input is available. Okay, so then accordingly we will return this value, and also whatever the value we received in our project, so we are going to serialize that. So let's serialize. So let's name this as a serialized project, and use. So I'm going to import one library here, that is super.json. So this is to serialize the objects. Okay, so let me import super.json. Okay, that is import super.json. Okay, and here make use of the serialize function and pass in our object parameter, and finally we are going to return in the props object the project property with the value as serialized project and as image input available. Okay, so this would be the input params for our studio page component. Okay, so ideally now if we try to refresh, the error should be gone. Okay, so okay, let's try to log in. So yep, okay, fine. So let's click on view my studio. Yep, you see now whatever we configured, the back to dashboard and the arrow left icon is visible. So clicking on this should take back us to the dashboard. So now we'll focus on building the page. So first I'll focus on the component which kind of takes the prompt or image as a input model from the user, and can clicking on shoot button should be able to generate the image for this project. So we'll focus on that component first. So going back to our code base. Okay, so here just beneath this box, okay, we will be configuring that the prompt panel. So for that I'm going to create a separate component because it has a lot of functionality to handle. So let's create a the component called prompt panel inside our projects component folder. Okay, so if you go here, so here I'm going to create a new file called prompt panel dot tsx. Okay, fine. So now in that, so we will name the component name as prompt panel. Okay, so let's prompt panel, and the input params that this it will be receiving is as image input available param. Okay, so that is as image input available, and this would be of type boolean. So as image input available, so this would be of type boolean. Okay, fine. So now in this we are going to extract the details required for us using our project context. So the details needed for in this prompt panel component are, okay, so the project object and the short credits, okay, and add short function, then update credits, then the short template, then update short template function, short template, and then a prompt input reference, okay, and then again update prompt wizard credits, then prompt image URL. After this, set prompt image URL. Okay, so this will be using from use project context. Okay, so let me import that. So import, so I think so. Okay, fine. So what we'll do, we have created this prompt project context, but we have to provide the hook to use that. So I'm going to create a new folder inside our source folder called hooks. Okay, and in that I'm going to create a new hook called use project context. Okay, so let me name this as use project context.ts. okay, and in this I'm going to export the context of our project context. Okay, so let's export the default function. This name this as use project context function. Okay, and here let's, in the variable context, we are going to make use of use context from React and pass in our project context. Okay, and if the context is not there, so we are going to just throw error saying that use project context must be used within a project provider. Okay, so that is use project context must be used within a project provider. Okay, fine. Then finally we are going to return that context object. Fine. So now we are going to make use of that inside our prompt panel. So let's import that use project context. Okay, yeah, okay, let's remove this. Fine. So now whatever the values are needed for us inside prompt panel from use project context is imported. Okay, fine. So after this the UI that will be rendering is, so we will wrap inside everything inside the flex component and make this act as a form. Okay, because here we'll be receiving a prompt input from the user, and clicking on the shoot button we should be able to generate image. Okay, so this will consider as a form. Okay, so it has to be wrapped inside quotes. Okay, and the flex direction obviously the column, and on submit we are going to call we are going to make an API call to create a prediction and also update our short template, which we will configure eventually. So but for now we are going to prevent default one, and this we will be doing only if prompt input ref is having a value. Okay, so then only we'll be triggering the API call to create a prediction and all. Okay, fine. So this I will write you just after some time. Okay, and after this give some border radius for this as let's say XL, and padding if it we are on the smaller screen I'll give it as a 5. If we are on medium screen, let's give it as a 7, and the margin bottom we'll give it as a 10. Okay, and background color, so background color will give this as white. Fine, so this is the styling for our first flex. Okay, after this now so first we're going to showcase the studio name. Okay, and then the button, if in case a kind of a drop down buttons which kind of asks the user to add extra shorts for this project by making again a further payment. Okay, so first so these two things we are going to wrap inside our flex component. Okay, so here first for this the styling align items I'll give it as a center, and the justify content, so make this as a space between. Okay, fine. And first thing as I told the text component. Okay, so for this give styling again font size, so since it is a studio name, so let's make quite big, so 2 times XL, and font weight I'll make it as a semi bold. Okay, so here the name that will be wrapping is studio, and inside the bold tag, so we are going to get the studio name. So we'll make here use of the util function which we have written, that is get refined studio name by passing in our project. Okay, so here then after this we're going to give some space, then just beneath this we have to render the button which can let the user to add more shots to project. Okay, so for now let's check by importing this inside our studio page. Okay, so going to studio page. Okay, just beneath this box I'm going to, so I didn't export that. Okay, just a second. So export default found panel. Okay, so let's try to make to use that. So this would receive as image input available parameter, so that we are passing. So now so if you see, at least we should be able to see the text and studio name. Okay, which we have configured. So you see, yep, so the studio and the studio name is visible, and beneath this, so just right of this studio check to button, we are going to introduce a short button where you can add more shots to this project. Okay, and beneath this again a text box for the user to input the prompt and a lot of stuff, so that will be configuring. So first let's configure the text box, sorry, text area. Okay, for that just outside of this flex, let's create one more flex, for text area section. Okay, so here let's give the styling for this flex direction as the based on the screen size we are in. So if it's a piece, I'll give it as a column. If not, I'll give this as a row. Okay, then gap. So gap again depending on screen size. If it's a base 4, if it is a medium screen, give it as a 2. And margin y direction, let's give it as a 4, and width as 100%. Okay, so let's close this flex. And there is some okay, I have imported it, but okay, fine. So it has to be common. Okay, fine. So then inside this flex, inside this box component, we are going to wrap our text area component. Okay, so first give it as a flex 1 so that it will occupy as much space it needs. So text area. Okay, and now for this styling, let's give size as large, and disabled. So it depends on short credits variable. So if short credits is equals to 0, then this would be disabled. And a reference, okay, it will be pointing to prompt input ref, which we have created in our project context variable. Okay, and the background color, I'll give it as white, and he's required, yes. Okay, and the shadow, let's give it as a large, and height, let's give it as 7 rem, and focused border color, let's give it as a gray, something like 400. Okay, and focus shadow, will give it as a medium, and margin right, I'll give it as a 2, and a placeholder, let's give some content like a portrait of me as an something like astronaut, highly detailed, trending on art station, something like this. Okay, okay, and let's close this. So now if we go back to our browser, we should be able to see our text area. Okay, so you see, yep, you see here a portrait of me as an astronaut. The text area section is seen. Okay, now heading back. Okay, after this we are going to render outside if this flex a button again to create a short. Okay, so this will be disabled based on again short credits. So if short credits is equals to 0, this would be disabled, and this is of type submit. Size, make this as large, and variant as brand. Right icon, let's make this as a camera. Okay, retro, and is loading, it depends upon the API call which I'm going to create to create a prediction for this shot. Okay, so for now we'll make this as a false. Okay, and here based on short credits we will be showcasing the text on the button. So if short credits is 0, we'll be saying that no more short, if not shoot. Okay, so this is what we'll be showcasing. So now if we head back to browser, so you see the button is configured. Okay, fine. So now actual thing is what we should be configuring. Just above this button, first thing I'll be showcasing is, if there is no short template and if there is no a prompt image URL, then we'll be rendering this section. So that is, if no short template and no prompt image URL, then I'll be rendering this section. So here inside the box component, and give some flex here as 1, and use the vertical stack and align items flex start. Inside this I'm going to showcase the bulb icon, and so provide a hint text, kind of like use @me as a subject of your prompt. Okay, so helper text. Okay, that we're going to wrap around the text component and give this color. So let's give it as a beach, some 500. Okay, and the font size, let's make this as small. Okay, now using the icon component, and has the BS light bulb icon. Okay, and the text we'll be showcasing is, inside the bold tag we'll use @me as the subject of your prompt. Okay, yep. So this is what will be showcasing. So here if you see now, they both are not present, that's why you are seeing the icon, and this use @me as a subject of your prompt. Okay, fine. So heading back now, so as I told, we have to provide for prompt assist and also use image as a model, so that has to be provided for user for better assistance. Okay, so that first we are going to create two separate components. So like one is like kind of a drawer which showcase which slides from the right, asking helping the user to generate the prompt using our OpenAI completion API, or else let the user select the preset prompts which we have, default prompts, that is like Hobbit and all those stuff. So if he clicks on that particular image, we should be able to make the user use that prompt. Okay, so I will be focusing on creating those two components now, so which is prompts drawer and a prompt image. Okay, so I'm going to create inside a projects folder of a component section. So first let's focus on prompts drawer. So I'm going to create a new file called prompts drawer.tsx. Okay, yep. So let's name this component name as prompts drawer, that is prompts drawer, and we're not going to receive any input params. Okay, and here we're going to make use of the use disclosure hook from our ChakraUI. So first we are going to destructure is open on open attributes from use disclosure hook. Okay, on close fine, and also take the prompt input reference from our project context. Okay, so prompt input ref from use project context. Okay, fine. So here we'll start rendering the UI section. Okay, inside our fragment. So first thing we'll be showcasing is the button, and give some styling for this. So the right icon, I'll give it as kind of a magic. So let's give this as, yep, this one, and variant as outline. Size, let's make this as small, and on click we're going to call this callback function on open from use disclosure hook. Okay, and the text that will be showcasing on this button is prompt assistant. Okay, so this is the text that will be showcasing, and now we are going to make use of the drawer component. Okay, so this would be showcased if the drawer is asked to open. Okay, these are all the contents we'll be showcasing in the drawer section. So first, the isOpen would be triggered based on the isOpen value inside whatever we receive from use disclosure hook. Okay, and size of this, so size of this will depend upon the screen we are at. So if it's a base, we'll make this as a medium. Okay, and if it's a medium screen, we'll make this as a large. Okay, and the placement, I want it to be in the right section of the screen, and on close we are going to trigger that callback on close callback function. Okay, fine. So inside this drawer, first thing we're going to call a drawer overlay. Okay, and after this the drawer content. Okay, first so we're going to wrap everything inside the drawer content, and here first the close button, drawer close button. Okay, after this the header of the drawer, header. So here the header will be showcasing is the prompt assistant. Okay, fine. So prompt assistant, and so just to showcase you the just let's go back to our prompt panel section, and then try to use that prompts drawer component. Okay, let's export this. So prompts panel. Okay, and inside this let's try to use the component which we have just created. So just beneath this flex. Okay, inside horizontal stack. Why I'm using horizontal stack? Because I would like to keep two things in this, one for the prompt assist and another for the uploading image as a reference. Okay, that we will be configuring eventually. Okay, so first is the prompts drawer. So this one. Okay, now let's see if we are able to see anything on the screen. Okay, you see here the button, the prompt assistant is seen. So if you click on this, the drawer from the right side is visible for us, and then as of now we have configured the header and the close button. Okay, so eventually we'll configure what has to be showcased in this. Okay, so now let's head back to our code base. Okay, to prompts drawer section. Just after this header, so what we'll be configuring is body. So the body of that we're going to wrap inside drawer body. Okay, and everything will be wrapped inside a vstack. So let's give some styling for this, that align items. Let's make this as a flex start, and width give it as 100%. Okay, and a divider will be a divider component from ChakraUI. Okay, and the spacing will give it as a 5. Fine. So yep, so now first is the input kind of box we have to show for the user to write something, and then click on generate button using the OpenAI completion API to generate more for the text. Okay, so for that we will create a separate component. Okay, let's call that as a like kind of a prompt wizard panel. Okay, so I'm going to create inside this project section itself. So let's create that component, that is prompt wizard panel dot tsx. Okay, so inside this we are going to quickly create whatever we needed. So the same the component name would be prompt wizard panel, and this is going to receive a callback function called onClose. Okay, so as I said, this would be callback function with no input params, and return type would be empty void. Okay, and we are going to make use of the some variables from project context. Okay, so first is prompt input ref. Okay, and then update prompt wizard credits, and then prompt wizard credits. So this would be from our use project context. Okay, fine. And to keep track of the keywords that user is entering, we'll use one state variable. Okay, so that is, let's name this as keyword, and set keyword use state. This would be of type string, so initially it will be empty string. Okay, fine. Then after this let's start focusing on rendering the UI from this component. So everything we're going to wrap in the vstack component. So okay, so first the styling will make this act as a form. Okay, form, and then max width would be 30 rems. Okay, and align items, let's make this as a flex start inside a string. Flex direction, obviously the column. Then on submit, make use of the event and prevent default actions, and also stop propagating value to the parents component. And if keyword is not empty only, we'll be calling a create prompt function, which is kind of an API call to hit the OpenAI completion API, which I will configure eventually. Okay, so that thing happens here in the on submit of the form section. So here the content of this form should be this. So first the thing we'll be showcasing is the text using the text component of ChakraUI, and give some styling margin bottom as a 2, and the text that will be showcasing here is enter a inside a bold tag, enter a topic or concept, and our AI will generate a good prompt example based on it. Okay, so this is the text we'll be showcasing. Then after this I want input component, okay, to take user input. So make use of the input component from ChakraUI. So input, and it will be autofocus, and a placeholder for this would be like, let's give some example like cowboy, a great zombie, anything. Okay, just some examples, citing some examples. Then keyword, okay, then on change we are going to update the value inside to our keyword variable. So set keyword e dot current target dot value. So this is how we're going to handle the change of the text and update inside our keyword variable. Okay, just after this input thing, we have to showcase a button to just which says kind of generate. Okay, fine. So button, and this would be disabled based on the prompt wizard credits. So if it is 0, this would be disabled, and the variant, I'll make this as brand. Right icon, I want it to be again magic. Okay, fine. Okay, and after this is loading. It depends upon the loading variable which we will be configuring eventually while making an API call. Again, this is of type submit. Okay, and the text, what it says here is generate. Okay, so yeah, so this is the component for user to enter some topic name and make use of the OpenAI completion API to generate the prompt for him. Okay, so now going back to our prompts drawer, we'll make use of that. So I think I didn't export this again, so let's export this. Export default prompt wizard panel. Okay, so now heading back to prompts drawer, we'll make use of that component here. Okay, so here let's give again spacing little more. Let's give it as a 6. Okay, then inside this vertical stack, so first thing that we'll be using is the prompt wizard panel, and on close I'm going to pass this on close callback function. Fine, so here let's first check the UI if you're able to see the prompt wizard panel. So if I click on this, yep, so the thing which we have configured inside the prompt wizard panel we are able to see. So yeah, so now after this after this prompt wizard panel, we are going to display inside the grid whatever prompts, default prompts we have. Okay, so that will be wrapping inside our box component, and first text that will be showing with some margin bottom as a 4 is, or select a preset from our existing prompts. Okay, so did I not import text? Okay, yep, so let's import text. Yes, so here select a preset. Now just beneath this, make use of the simple grid component, and the columns depending on the screen size we are in. If it's a base, let's make this as 2. If it's medium and above, as 3. Okay, and the gap as 4. Yep, that's it. So now we'll make use of the prompts from our utils section, and take each prompt and wrap everything inside box for each prompt, and use some styling cursor, make it look like a pointer, and the key I want to be slug so that it will be unique, and the transition, sorry, not transform, transition, let's make it as 200 milliseconds in all direction. Okay, hover effect, let's use the filter as contrast 140%. Okay, fine. So inside this, for each prompt, what will be showcasing is the image and the text. Okay, so make use of these two components, image again. So let's import image. Okay, so for this, on click, what we will be doing is prompt input ref, whatever we have pointing to the text area section, we'll be setting the value with whatever value is there in prompt. Okay, yes. Then and then we're going to trigger on close callback function. Okay, after this we have styling for this. So styling border radius, I'll give it as a 10. Source of this, the image that would be should be showcasing is from this prompts which we have in our public folder. So prompts, then the character and the slug.png. Okay, and this is from where the image will be showcased. Okay, this has to be outside of the curly brackets png. Okay, yep. Then after this alt the thing which would be showcasing is prompt dot label, and then width and height for this, let's give it as a 400. So height again I'll give it as a 400. Then unoptimized, so here instead of using image from ChakraUI, I'm going to use image from next image. Okay, so let's import image. Okay, yep, and here I'll pass the unoptimized. Okay, this is the image component. You can just beneath this I'm going to render the prompt label. Okay, so inside our text component, so text transform, let's make this as capitalize, and the font weight, make this as semi bold, and the color, let's give a beige color. So beige dot 500, and the margin top as 1, so that there will be enough space between the image and the text. So the text will be showcasing is prompt dot label. Okay, yeah. So now let's head back and check if the changes are reflecting. So if I click on this, you see here these are the things that we have got from our preset defined prompts. Okay, so now on clicking on this, you see here the text area will be populated with the whatever the prompt was used to generate these images. Okay, so if I click here, yep, so that is being added. So yeah, so mostly this is it for the component, except that API calls has to be configured. Okay, we will. Okay, yeah. Okay, so now I'll focus on taking input image as a model. So for that also we'll write a separate component. Let's name that as a prompt image. Okay, inside our projects folder itself. So I'll create a new file which says prompt image. Okay, so let's name the component name as prompt image. Okay, and then here I had been needing one state variable to keep track of is image is loaded or not. Okay, so first that is loading, and set loading, and initially I would make this value as false. Okay, and then we are going to use the use disclosure hook in order to show a prompt to upload image. Okay, so again we're going to extract the is open on open callback function, and also on close callback function from use disclosure hook from ChakraUI. So here on close callback function, I'm going to set. Okay, so what I will define one more variable to keep track, to store where URL for image preview. So let's name that as okay, image preview, set image preview, and this would be of type file preview. So initially this is empty. Okay, so here on closing I'm going to set image preview to undefined. Okay, yep. Then from our project context I'd be using set prompt image URL thing. So I'm going to destructure that, set prompt image URL, use project context. Okay, yep. Then here I'm going to create one reference variable for cropping. Okay, so let's name that as cropper reference. Okay, and use ref hook, and this would be of type fixed cropper reference. So here I'm going to use one library called React Advanced Cropper, so that I'm going to install. So here that is React Advanced Cropper. Okay, so I'm installing that, so you can refer more info by going to their official page. Okay, yep. So I'm going to import that, which is fixed cropper ref, and by default we'll make this as null. And the image we are going to upload to our S3, so I'm going to use upload to S3 function from our use S3 upload function. Okay, fine. And after this we will going to use the drop zone in order to let the user to drop the image by making use of React drop zone library, use drop zone hook. Okay, so here I'm going to get root props and then get input props and make use of this use drop zone. Accept would be of type image slash png, so this would accept of type dot png, and here image of type jpeg, so this would again accept of type dot jpeg and dot jpg. Okay, it's fine. And the max size that we would be accepting is this. Yep. Then multiple, no, we'll just take one input at a time. And on drop accepted files, if accepted files is there is having not null value, we're going to set value into our image preview variable by making use of create preview media util function which we have written, that is accepted files of 0. Okay, so yeah, so this is it, making use of use drop zone. Okay, then finally let's start focusing on rendering the UI. Okay, I will wrap everything inside our fragment. So first thing that will be showcasing is the button, so which says like a use image as a model. So first the right icon will be showcasing as image icon. Okay, and variant as outline, size, let's make it as a small, so it has to be smallest, size as small, and then on click I'm going to call on open callback function. Okay, and the text that will be showcasing is use image as model. Okay, fine. Then after this we're going to make use of the model and wrap everything inside that what we want to show in the model. Okay, so just beneath this button, model, okay, from ChakraUI, and is open will be based on the value will be receiving inside our is open variable, and on close we're going to trigger the on close callback function from use disclosure. Okay, first is model overlay. Okay, here backdrop filter will make it as auto, and backdrop blur will make it as 4 pixel, and then model current content. Okay, so we'll make this act as a form, and on submit here we have to invoke a function to handle submit. So what it does is ideally we'll try to convert the image preview URL to blob and upload to our S3. So let me write a function to handle all the thing. So let's name this function name as handle submit. Okay, and make this as asynchronous, and this is not going to receive any input params. So if cropped reference dot current there is no value, so we are just going to return, or else we are going to set loading to true, and take a canvas into variable called canvas from cropper ref dot current dot get canvas, and make the height and width as 512. Okay, so here we're going to receive canvas of the proper ref, and now we are going to convert it to blob, sorry, canvas to blob. Okay, here again make this as asynchronous, and input param would be blob. So here first let's store the cropped image by making use of create preview media util function which you have written, and then take the file by resizing image, okay, cropped image as file. Okay, and finally get the URL from upload to S3 file, and set loading to false, and set prompt image URL to URL which we received from S3, and trigger on close callback function. Okay, and here this would be of type image slash jpg. Okay, this is the functionality that this handle submit is going to handle. Now that function we are going to invoke here on submit button. Okay, so make this as asynchronous, and prevent default events, and also stop propagation to parent components, and invoke that handle submit function. Okay, just close this model content. Okay, and inside this header that will be showcasing the content as model header use image as model. Okay, fine. Then after this, the close button, then the body of this model body. So if image preview value is not null, we are going to render this UI, that is fixed cropper, and pass in our reference. Okay, that is cropper ref, and the source would be image preview, and here stencil size, I'll make this width and height as 512 respectively, and the image restriction to whatever the stencil boundaries constraints we have defined. Yep. So if there is no image preview, this is what we are going to render. So inside our center component, and on hovering, let's give some hover effect, that is background as white alpha dot 800, and give some font size as small, and transition to all for 0.2 seconds, and the background color let's make this as white alpha to 500. Okay. Yep. And the cursor will make it as a pointer, and the border radius as XL, and border I'll give 1 pixel dashed gray, and the padding in all direction as 10, flex direction as column, and we're going to get inherit all the get root props from use drop zone section. Okay, and class name that will be applying is drop zone, and close this. Inside this, the input we will inherit all from our get input props from our React drop zone, use drop zone. Okay. And the icon that will be showcasing is arrow up. Okay, so this one, and make the font size as 3 times XL, and finally the text what we will be showcasing is upload reference image. Okay, so this is the prompt image component. So now let's go back to our prompts panel, and make use of this prompt image component which we have just built. So here, based on value present as image input available, I'll be rendering this. So did I export this? I don't think so. So let's export this. Export default prompt image. So here, prompt image. Okay, so now let's check this. Yep, you see here, use image as model is showcased. So clicking on this, this is what we have created. That is, if you go back to prompt image component, so here this is what we are showcasing: upload reference image. Okay, if there is no image, okay, if there is image, this is what we'll be showcasing. So let's me showcase you an example. So if I upload one image, okay, let's say I'm uploading this image. Okay, there is some issue. Let me correct that first. The issue is I didn't import the stylings from React Advanced Cropper library. That's the reason we saw that viewer behavior. So now I import that. So React Advanced Cropper list style.css. Okay, and one more file, React Advanced Cropper dest themes compact dot css. Okay, so now let's head back to the browser and check. Okay, let's refresh this. Okay, I'm logging in again. So okay, View Studio and use images model. So let's check now. Yep, you see, yeah, so you can reduce to whatever image you wanted, and accordingly you would be able to upload. But ideally the buttons and all you should be able to see. So footer I have to configure, so I forgot that. So what, let's head back to prompt image. After this model body, we should have the footer which says to use image or cancel image. Okay, so let's use the footer. Okay, and inside this let's use the button group and have two buttons, one for cancelling and another for using image. Okay, so on click I'm going to call on close callback function, and the variant I'm going to make a use of ghost, and the text on this button is cancel. And after this one more button here, this will be disabled if there is no image preview. Okay, and his loading depends upon his loading variable which we have configured, and the variant will make this as brand. Type it is submit. Okay, and use image. So this has to be the two buttons that we have to showcase. So let's head back to browser. Yep, you see here cancel and use image is being showcased. So ideally once we click on this use image, we'll be uploading the image to our S3, and somewhere in this prompt panel component we have to display this image and the some text. Okay, that first we're going to configure that, then we'll click on this use image thing. Okay, so let's head back to prompt panel section. So here as I told, okay, so after this text area section, so based on if a prompt image URL value is available, and if the short template value is available, we will be rendering some text and also the image. Okay, so just beneath this flex component I'm going to use one more flex. Okay, and give a gap here as a 2, and a flex direction depending on screen size. If it's a base, I'll go for the column, or else we'll go for row. Okay, first here, based on if there is a prompt image URL, I'm going to render this UI. So inside the horizontal stack component, so let's give the flex as 1, and margin x direction I'll give it as a 3, and similarly in the y direction also is a 3, and align items, let's make this as a flex start, and a position, make it as a relative, overflow will hide it, so hidden. Okay, and first inside this horizontal stack component, first thing will be showcasing is the image, and then the text as well as the button. Okay, fine, so let's make use of this image. So image shall we use from the next image component. Okay, so I'm going to import that. So from next image, so let's give some styling for this image. So style, border radius, let's make it as a 5, and unoptimized, alt will give as a prompt, and source would be a prompt image URL, and width and height I will give it as a 48 respectively. Okay, so this is the image. After this, the text, so give some font size, will give it as a medium, and the text I'll be showcasing is the new shot will use inside this bold tag this image as a guide image to image mode. Okay, this is the text will be showcasing. Okay, and after this, let's give some break, and inside this only I'll be configuring the button. So on clicking of this button, we are going to set prompt image URL to undefined. Okay, and give size to this button as small, and variant as link, and the color scheme I'll make this as red. Okay, finally the text of this button would be remove. Okay, so this is if there is a prompt image URL. Okay, so now let's go back to browser and check how the changes that we are going to see. Okay, so I'm going to upload one image, so let's take the same image and consider this. Clicking on this use image button, it should upload to our S3, and then we should be able to see the image in our prompt panel component. It is taking more time than expected. Let's see. Okay, let's wait. Is there some problem? Yep, there is a problem with the security token, so that's why it's infinitely loading. So let me first check out the security token. You see now the image, the thing is being uploaded to our S3 bucket, and we're able to see inside the prompt panel. Okay, the problem was with my AWS account that was suspended because of non-payments, so I just now paid them. So now they have revoked my account, so I'm able to connect to my S3 account using my secret access key now. Okay, so yeah, so now see, if you see, you'll be able to remove, and I'm going to show you again to upload any just a new image. So let's upload some let's upload some image. Okay, let's upload this. Okay, so let's use this. So I'm clicking on use image. That handle submit button should be triggered and should be uploaded to our S3 bucket, and now you see this would be used as the reference. Okay, fine. So yeah, so now coming back to our prompt panel. So as I told, so again, based on if the short image URL, sorry, short template is present, then we should render the image and the text that will be using to generate the image. So that also we should configure. Before even that, you see in the browser the button is occupying all of it, so I just want to be the right side here. So let's make that change. That is, let's put this inside our above flex. Okay, so that is, so let's take this both of them and use inside this flex, and now let's check the change. Okay, yep, you see the button is towards the right, the way we wanted. Now quickly, now here, now if short template is present, then we will render one more UI. Okay, so if short template is not null, so we are going to use the horizontal stack same. So let's do some styling for this again. Flex will make this as 1, so it will occupy how much of space it needs, and margin x direction 3 and y direction 3 same. Okay, and align items, I will make this as again a flex start, position same as like the above one, so relative. Okay, and overflow hidden. Fine, yep. Now here image, the next image component, and style this. So again use some border radius as 5 and a placeholder as blur data URL. This would be the short template dot blur ash or placeholder. Okay, so you'll understand what this is again once we configure the shorts. Okay, and unoptimized, and alt name for this will use short template prompt, source short template dot our output URL, and width making it as 48, and similarly height also will make it as 48. Okay, and this should be not null. Okay, after this image the text. Okay, so same font size, we will make this as a medium. So here we will show the text as new short, will use the same style in a bold. Okay, as this image, same scene. Okay, yep. then just so okay, this has to be in open brackets. So after this we'll break a line and just put in this the button to remove it. Okay, so on click inside the callback function, we are going to update short template to undefined. Okay, and size, make it as a small variant, we will link it, color scheme. Okay, make this as red, and the text of the button is red. Okay, yeah, so yes, so this is pretty much it in the prompt panel when it comes to the UI. API part will handle. So heading back to our the studio page, so we have used the prompt panel, and one more thing that we should be able to showcase is the list of the shots that were generated for this project, if in case generated. So that also we should have one separate component. So I'm going to create a new folder inside our projects folder called shot, and whatever the components are required to complete the shot related UI will store in this folder. Okay, so let's create a new folder called shot. So first this list of the shots, so let's create a new file called shots list. Yep, so the component name is shots list. So this is not going to receive any input params, and the variables that we'll be taking from our project context is shots as more result is loading more, update shot template, and then fetch shots. So these are the things we will be using from our project context. Okay, yes, then after this we'll focus on rendering the UI. So inside our fragment we will try to use the components required for this. So here, based on if shots dot length whatever we received from the project context is 0, then we will say text inside a box component. Let's give some styling here, text align as a center. Okay, and font size as large. So the text what you will be saying here is you don't have any prompt yet, it's time to be creative. Okay, this is what we'll be showcasing in case if no shots are there for this project. Okay, if not, this is the section that will be showcasing to the user. So again we will use the fragment. Okay, and inside we'll use simple grid from ChakraUI, and the columns I would define based on the screen we are in. If it's a base 1, if it's a small 2, if it's a medium we'll go for 3. Okay, and the spacing will go for 10, and align items flex start. Okay, fine. So now we'll make use of that shots list and take each shot of type shot. Okay, and here what we'll do, since it is common to all the shots, we will define a separate component, kind of a card for short called short card, and then use that component here. So let me create a file called short card dot tsx. Okay, so here we will create a component name as short card. So short card. So short card, this would expect the input parameters as short. Okay, so let's rename this to initial short. Okay, and handle seed callback function, and so here we'll define their types. So short would be of type short. Okay, and handle seed is callback function which receives the short object as the input param, and return type is void. Okay, now now we are going to handle whatever is needed to create the shortcut component. So I'm going to use the use clip code hook from ChakraUI to copy the prompt. Okay, so let's extract two functions on copy, and as copied variable from use clipboard, and here initial will give it as prompt. Okay, fine, and here we will take two local state variable to set the short, as well as to keep track of is it HD or not. Okay, so here short and set short use state, and this would be storing the initial state value, and similarly is HD set is HD. This would store if short dot HD output URL is not null to true or else to false. Okay, fine, and we have to make multiple API calls because there will be a lot of options configured in this card, which we will configure later. Okay, so now we'll focus on rendering the UI. So return and everything will wrap inside a box component. So give some styling here. Again, overflow will hide it. So background color, make it as white, and the border radius, let's make this as a large, width as 100%, position let's make this as a relative. Okay, fine. So now inside this, based on if there is output URL, I'm going to show the one component. If not, I'm going to show one more. Okay, so here let's make use of the short dot output URL. So here if there is a output area URL, we have to show the image. If not, a box with some aspect ratio, kind of like short generation, like a spinner. Okay, fine. So if there is no output URL, this is what we are going to show inside the aspect ratio component. So let's import that. That is aspect ratio, and the ratio will give value as 1, and again inside so here let's give us something image. Okay, fine. So inside this, based on again shorts status, that is short dot status, if it is failed, we are going to show some content. If not, we're going to show other content. So if it is a field inside center, let's give the background color for this as beach, some less number 50. Okay, and the width, let's give it as 100%. And inside this vertical stack, we're going to show one icon. Make this font size as extra large, not 3, let's make it as 3 times. Okay, as face ID error. Okay, so that is TB face ID error. Okay, so let's import that. So let's import that from React icons, that is error from React icon / TV. Okay, yep. So this icon will be showcasing, along with that a text beneath that inside a box component, and give some font size as small, and the color, let's make this as black alpha, and little darker, and here we will give the text as short generation failed. Okay, fine. So if not, this is the thing that we will be showcasing, that is inside center, background color, give it as a gray, some 100. Okay, and the width will give it as 100%. The spinner kind of saying that we are still generating. Okay, so the size will give your Excel, and the speed as 2 seconds, and the color I'll give the gray color, some 400. Okay, yep. So this is what we'll be showcasing. Okay, and after this, so for image, we will write separate component, and it's named that as a short image. Okay, and we will configure the logic to showcase image in that component. Okay, so let's name new component called short image.tsx. okay, here let's write that, so short image, and this would expect input params is short, and is HD. By default I will set a value to false. Okay, so this type short is of type short. Okay, and is HD, this is of type boolean. So let's import short from Prisma client. Okay, and so here we will use disclosure hook from ChakraUI. So let's first take on open and on close is open. Let's rename it to is zoomed. Okay, use disclosure. Okay, fine. So now we will render the UI inside everything, inside box component. So let's give width as 100%, and the background color, make this as gray. Overflow will hide it. Fine. Now here again I'm going to use one more library, which is a React Medium image zoom. Okay, to zoom the image. So let's import that and install that. So React Medium image zoom. So I'm installing that. So let's import controlled from that. So let's import and rename that as controlled zoom so that it will be clear for us. React medium image zoom. Okay, yep. Now everything we are going to wrap inside that component. So that is control zoom, and for this the input params is zoomed. We are going to pass in that is zoomed variable, that is open. Okay, and then on zoom change, so let's name this variable as should zoom, and we are going to use the push and query object from use router hook. Okay, so let's import, so use define that query and use router hook. Okay, so if it is a should on zoom change, so I'm going to push the query as like this, that is id is query dot id, and then should zoom, and zoom id we're going to set to short dot id. Okay, then after this we're going to define undefined, and then shallow as true. Okay, and finally after this should you, based on this we will decide if it should invoke on open or on close function. Okay, fine, and sorry, this should not be inside box. Oh, fine. Yeah, so this is how we're going to show the zoomed version or not, and accordingly we are going to call the on open callback and on close callback function in order to close and reopen the zoomed version. Okay, after this I'm going to use the image component from next and configure some styling. So placeholder, it will be blur, and blur data URL would be short dot blur ash or placeholder, and halt will give a short dot prompt value, and the source depending on is HD. I'm going to show the short dot HD output URL. Okay, this should not be null, and or else short dot output URL. Okay, and let's define the width. Again, this should not be not null. Okay, and let's give width as 512, and similarly height as well 512, and unoptimized. Okay, fine. Yes, so this is the short image component. So let's export this and use in our short card component. Export default short image. So let's heading back. So here I'm going to use that short image component and pass in the params, which is HD. We're going to pass is HD, and short we're going to pass short, and yep, this is how we're going to showcase if image is there using this short image component. Okay, then after this so after showcasing this So let's wrap everything inside a box component first. Okay, so that is, yep. Then after this, outside of this, we're going to showcase the tooltips and also the icons to download and what an HD URL, okay, and to bookmark this shot, and also these icons we're going to wrap around this flex component that I'm going to write. So flex, okay, so let's make the position as relative and give here padding as 3 in all directions, and the flex direction will make this as column. Okay, inside this let's have one more flex, align items center, and justify content. Let's give here it as flex in, and inside this we'll wrap everything inside box component. Okay, so here if there is a seed in the short object and also the output URL, then we are going to show the icon button to handle a seed, and okay, this is nothing but reusing a kind of stuff. Okay, so based on seed is present and also output URL is present, then we are going to render this section, that is make use of tooltip, and give as arrow label. I'll give it as reuse style, and inside this I'm going to use icon button and give the styling for this size as small, on click, I should write one function to handle seed of the shot, which we will eventually. Okay, and also scroll to top 0 and left 0 section, so that I'm going to write here. So scroll to top 0 and left 0, and behavior, let's make this as smooth. Okay, and after this make a variant as ghost, and area label as download, font size medium, and icon that we will be showcasing is this one, so empty outline model training. Okay, and finally we'll close this icon button. Yep, so this is when there is scene and output URL, so we can reuse the style of this prompt, and additionally add something like this. Okay, that is, you'll know when we have the card rendered on the screen, and in order to generate a new shot, this helps us to reuse this prompt and populate in our text area input reference. Okay, and we can additionally add more info and then generate. Okay, that is this icon button for. Okay, and next, if there is output URL, I'm just going to add a button to download it. Okay, fine. So short dot output URL, this is what I'm going to show inside a fragment. Okay, first the icon button, so here let's give styling size as small, make it act as link from next link. Okay, and href, if there is hd, would be short dot hd output url, or else short dot output url. Target, let's make nothing, blank, and variant as ghost, and area label download. Okay, and then gives font size as medium, and icon I'll give it as download icon. Okay, this one, and close this icon button. And also icon to create a HD version of this image. Okay, so we'll wrap everything inside a tooltip. So give again, it has arrow label, I will give it as get. So here we will write one helper function to get HD label, okay, based on his HD variable value. Okay, so let's go on top of the shortcut component. So let's define one function that is HD label, and input param for this would be short object, and then the is HD boolean type. Okay, yes. So if short dot hd status is equals to no, so this is what the text will be returning, that is generate in 4K. Okay, then if short dot status is pending, we will return this, that is 4K in progress. If short dot hd status is processed and his hd is true, then the content that will be returning is show standard resolution. Okay, yep, or else the text that will be written is show 4K. Okay, so this is the helper function. So now we'll make the label value according to that function. Okay, so get HD label, so let's pass in the short and is HD variable, and inside this tooltip use that icon button. So icon would be of 4K fill, so this is, so let's import that icon as well, that is import fill from React icons, and this is from our, okay, yep. So we're going to use that, this icon. Then next the color, so color, if it is HD, let's give it as 400, if not we'll give gray 600, and his loading depends on if a short.hd status is pending, or so here we will have one more variable called is creating hd that we will configure when we are making a call to generate a hd output url. Okay, so for now I'm going to give this value. Okay, now on click, if short.hd status is equals to no, then we have to call a function to create hd short output url, okay, which will configure eventually. And else if okay, short.hd status is processed and short.hd output url is present, then set is hd will be set to whatever value is there in is hd variable. Okay, fine. So after this, the styling size, make this as a small, and variant I'll make this as ghost. Fine. And area label, let's make this as make 4K, and the font size as large. So this is to handle the hd section. Okay, fine. Then after this, to bookmark this chart so that it will be under our favorite sections of the images generated. Okay, so again this would be wrapping inside a tooltip. So as arrow, again label would be if it is bookmarked, then remove or else add, and additionally to your gallery. Okay, then inside this tooltip, inside again wrap icon button, so is loading will be based on is loading variable, which we will configure eventually when making an API call. And the size I'll give it as a small, variant as ghost, and area label bookmark, font size will give it as a medium, icon will be based on if it's a bookmarked, it will be like a heart fill. Okay, so let's import heart fill, if not just outlined heart. Okay, so this one, and here on click we should have one function to bookmark it, which I will configure later while we are writing API calls. And then pointer events, again this depends upon our loading variable, so for now we'll leave it as empty. And the color, so if it's bookmarked will be red, if not inherit. Okay, yep. So this is the icon to bookmark it. Then after that, just outside of this flex component, we will have a text component to showcase the prompt that was used to generate this shot. Okay, so let's configure this text component. So give margin top as 2, cursor make this as text, number of lines. So let's import this text first. Okay, so going downwards, so here number of lines, let's make it as a 2, font size to small, so here S should be small, and font weight, let's make this as semi bold, and here the value that we'll be showcasing is short.prompt. Okay, so this is to showcase the prompt, and after this text component we'll use again horizontal stack component to showcase the created at time, and also the text to showcase to copy or copied prompt. Okay, fine. So horizontal stack and justify content, let's make this a space between, margin top as 4, and the first text component to showcase the created at date, so give your beach something like 400, font size I'll give your extra small. So here make use of that format relative function from date_fns, and pass in our new date, short dot created at, and the new date. Okay, yep. After this, a button to copy the prompt. So here the right icon based on as copied variable, I'm going to show checkmark circle outline, so that is ID checkmark circle outline icon, or else undefined. Okay, and color scheme, let's make this as a beige, size extra small, variant, let's make this as a link, on click, we'll call the on copy callback function. Okay, here based on if as copied is true, we'll show the text as copied, or else the text will be showcasing this copy prompt. Okay, yeah, so this is it. This is the shortcode component. So let's import export the UI part I'm talking about. So use memo from React. Okay, and export this. Okay, fine. So now let's make use of this shortcode in our shorts list component. Okay, here, so let's import that shortcode. Okay, and the param, so let's give unique ID for this with the short ID, and a short object that will be passing, so that is short, and then handle seed callback function. So here we are going to name this as updated short, and here update short template. For the function we're going to pass the updated short input param. Okay, and then finally close this component. Fine. After this, if as more result variable is true, then we're going to render the button to load more. Okay, so inside the box component I'm going to wrap, give margin top for this as a 4, and text align, I'll make this as center, and width as 100%, and now using the button component of ChakraUI, and is loading depends on is loading more variable, and a variant make this as brand. On click we will call the fetch shorts function. Okay, and close this button, and the text that will be showcasing is load more. Okay, yep. So yeah, so finally this is it. So let's export this shorts list. Okay, and okay, there is some issue here inside our short card. What is the issue? Okay, okay, now where is the issue again? Okay, this has to be not null. Okay, yep. So yeah, shorts list we have added. So now heading back to our studio page, so just beneath this prompt panel, so let's try to add the shorts list which we have created. Okay, that is shorts list. Okay, and now let's head back to browser and check the UI. So it's refreshing. Okay, you see here, as of now we don't have any short, that is why this text it is showcased, that is you don't have any prompted, it is time to be creative. So that text we configured inside here. You see, you don't have any prompted, it's time to be creative. Okay, fine. So now the UI part, I think apart from one more gallery page, it's almost done is what I feel. So now we'll focus on writing APIs now. Okay, fine. So heading back to our shorts list, so here and we are using the short card component. So let's go back to that short card component and let's see what are the functions or the calls that we have to make. So first is to the bookmark the particular short. Okay, so for that I am going to create one endpoint inside our projects folder for called let's name that inside this. Okay, let's create a one folder called predictions. Okay, so let's create predictions, and here for each prediction there will be one unique prediction ID. So this would be dynamic. So again this would be folder, so that is prediction ID, and here we will create a file called index.ts and we are going to handle that API call here. Yep. So first thing, so let's create a handler and check for session again. So get the project and get the short details, and let's update the bookmark and also the get and patch methods. Okay, fine. So here I'm defining handler function, and here the input param is next API request, and again the next API response. Fine. So first thing what we do here is get the project ID from query param ID as a string, and next is get the session object from get session function by passing in request object, and also get the prediction ID. So that is prediction ID from query params itself, which is prediction ID as string. Okay, and check if the session dot user is not found, then we will say you are not authenticated. So status 401.json, and send the message as not authenticate. Okay, yep, this is what we'll be showcasing. Okay, so it can be probably null, so let's question mark here. First let's get the details of the project. So await db, so let's import db from db core. Okay, so here db dot project, find the first author. So here where id is equals to project id, and user id is session dot user id. So this would give the details about the project, and let's get the details about short. So again db dot short, find first author where project id is project dot id, and id is prediction id. Okay, so this would give us the short details. Fine, now here based on two things, so two methods we are going to handle. If request dot method is equals to get, then we are going to perform this. If else if the request dot method is equals to update, that is a patch, we're going to handle this. So first I'm going to get the bookmarked value from a body of the request. Okay, and then short, I'm going to update the short. Okay, short update, and going to find by short dot id, and bookmark variable will be set to bookmarked or false. Okay, so okay, update where id, we're going to find id and set the bookmarked variable, and finally return the short. Okay, okay, there is some issue. Okay, so I cannot assign because I have here this as a const, so let's change it to let. Okay, yep, so this is to bookmark a particular short. Okay, fine. So now if we go back to our short card, so first I'm going to use this API. So here on top here I'm going to use the use mutation hook from that query and name this mutate as bookmark, and is loading. Okay, and use the use mutation hook and name this as update short and give the unique ID. So here initial short dot id. Okay, and pass in the bookmarked variable which is of type boolean, and call the patch method on Axios. So let's import Axios. Okay, then here I'm going to cal patch, and this is going to receive of type short. Okay, so it has to be short, so it's already imported. Okay, fine. So here the API endpoint is API slash projects slash the query dot. So here I'm going to use the use router and take the query object. So query, and here use the use router. Okay, so query dot id slash predictions, and then the id of our short initial dot id. Okay, and here the body that will be passing is bookmarked. Okay, fine. After this, on success callback function, we are going to receive short as a response. So I'm going to set into the short, so response dot data dot short. Yep, so this is the API call to bookmark particular short. Okay, fine. So after this we will have to make a query to get the data of a particular short. Okay, so going back to this, so here in the get, if the request dot method is get, that is where we are going to handle the API call to get the details of the short. Okay, so here first I'm going to make a call to the API, replicate API. So that is rename the data we are going to get into is prediction, and await a replicate client dot get. So the API is https api dot replicate dot com slash version1 predictions. Pass our replicate ID. Okay, this gives us a prediction. Then take the output URL from prediction dot output. We would present the first element output URL. So let blur hash be null if there is output URL. Then I'm going to take base 64 from get. So here we will use one more library dependency to get to the placeholder base 64. Okay, so that is npm install placeholder legacy dependency. Okay, so here I'm going to use that, and pass in the output URL and size as 16. So this gives us the base 64, and assign this value to blur hash, and take a seed number from so we write here one util function called extract seed from logs inside our predictions utils section. So going here, so here inside prediction, so let's write a function called extract seed from logs. So this would receive a string as input param. So inside try and catch block, so I'm going to get the log lines by making use of that the input param that I'm receiving, logs context dot split by /n, and then seed line as a first element of log lines array, and the seed value would be seed line dot split by these two, and get the first index value and trim. Okay, fine. Then finally return if there is seed value, if not the number in the seed value or undefined. Okay, in catch section, if there is any error occurred, we just return undefined. So this is the util function. So going back to our function, so let's use this, which is extract seed from logs. So passing in prediction dot logs, and now get the short, update the short table. So where id is short dot id, and the data that we are going to update status would be set based on the status we received in the prediction object, and output URL will be set to output URL or null. Okay, and the blur hash seed would be seed number or null. Okay, this is how we are going to update the short once we generate it. After this, we are going to return the short object. So this is the call to generate a URL for a particular short. Okay, so going back to our project short component, short card components, this is where we should configure the call. So after this, let's make a let's make use of the use query hook and call that API which we have just created. So use query and give unique ID for this. So short initial short dot ID, okay, and here call get method on Axios, okay, and this would receive output of type short, okay. This would receive output of type short, okay, and now call the API endpoint which we have just configured, I mean the get method, okay, that is query dot id slash predictions initial short dot id, okay, and then here we are going to get the response dot data. So here in the objects or refetch interval would be if data dot short dot output URL is present false, or else every 5 seconds, okay. So refetch on window focus to false, and enabled this would depend on initial short dot output URL value and also initial short dot status, okay, if it is not failed, okay. So this will be enabled only if this is true, okay, and then initial data would be short to initial short, okay, and in on success callback function we are going to receive the response and set inside our short variable. So this is to set the output URL to particular short when we click on kind of shoot, okay, fine. Then after that for HD also we have to define an endpoint to create an HD, okay, that we will configure. So before even configuring API to create a HD output URL, let's go to the prompt panel. So here let's try to create endpoint to create a prediction, that is when the user clicks on shoot button, we should be able to start creating the prediction. So for that we have to create an endpoint inside this predictions. You see here inside this predictions, okay, I have to create one new file called index.ts, and in that we are going to handle the logic to create a prediction for the prompt that user has typed, okay. So as usual, let's define the handler function. So handler, and this is going to receive two input params, so next API request and next API response, okay. First the query from body what and all will be receiving is the prompt, seed and the image, okay, and from query we will be receiving the project ID. So let's collect all those variables, okay, first. So request dot body dot prompt as a string, and seed again request dot body dot seed as number, and then image request dot body dot image as string, and then the project ID request dot query dot id as a string. Okay, and then I get the session object by making use of the get session function by passing in the request object. Okay, again if there is no session dot user, then we'll say you are not authenticated. Okay, so let's return that. So response dot status as 401, and JSON I'll be sending here the message as not authenticated. Okay, fine. So first we'll get the details of the project. So let's import the DB from utils DB core. So DB, okay, DB dot a project dot find first start row. Okay, here based on the ID we received, that is project ID and the session user ID. So that is session dot user ID. Okay, fine. If project status credits is less than 1, we are going to return status as 400, and return JSON response as no credit. Okay, so this is what will be returning if credits are less than 1, and we are going to get the data by calling the replicate client post method for the API https api.replicate.com/v1/predictions. Okay, and the input that we will be passing is, so input the prompt, which is here again one more util function we will write to replace @me with the instance name and the ID. Okay, so going to the predictions section, okay, in the utils part. So I'm going to define one function called replace prompt token. So export const replace prompt token, and the input param for this would be prompt string, and the project, okay, which is of type project from Prisma client. Okay, so here the refined prompt would be prompt dot replace all. So wherever we have @me, we will replace with the project dot instance name, and get refined instance class, that is project dot instance class. So we're going to replace @me with the instance name space with the instance class. Okay, so going back to this instance index.ts, so I'm going to use that util function here. So replace prompt token by passing in the prompt and the project. Okay, and here negative prompt we have defined environment variable. So from there I'm going to refer. So that is replicate negative prompt, and here going to pass the image. If there is an image, we are going to pass the image. Okay, similarly if there is a seed, we are going to pass the seed. Okay, and version, so project dot model version ID. So this is not this version. Okay, sorry, this has to be inside this, that's why we are seeing the error. Okay, yep, fine. So we are going to get the response inside the variable data, and now we are going to create a short, that is const short await db. Did we import? Yep. So db dot short dot create. So here the data is prompt, replicate id would be data dot id, and the status would be starting, and the project id would be project dot id. Okay, this is how we are going to create a short, and then we are going to update our projects table. So coming down, so await db dot project dot update, where id is project dot id, and then data credits would be decremented by 1. Okay, finally we are going to return the JSON of short object. Okay, and export this handler. Okay, so this is the API call to create a short. Okay, so going back to our prompt panel, which is yep, so going back to prompt panel, so we are going to make use of this API which we have just created, and see what can be achieved. So just beneath this, so let's use the use mutation hook. So here let's name this as create a prediction, and he's loading, rename this to he's creating a prediction. Okay, and use the use mutation hook. So here let's provide the unique id as create prediction, and for this the input param would be of type project, and so let's call the post method on Axios client. So this would receive output of type short. Okay, so the endpoint is which we have just created slash, okay, I should import short. Okay, yep, so the endpoint which we have just created, API slash project dot id slash predictions. Okay, and the body for this we'll be passing is the prompt, which would be prompt input ref dot current dot value. Okay, and the seed, so seed would be short template. If that is not null, the seed from short template, and the prompt image URL. So if So this should not be box. I don't know why autocomplete is irritating. Okay, fine. So if this is not null, we are going to set the image to prompt image URL. Okay, fine. After this, on success callback function, we are going to receive a response and add the short. Okay, that is response dot short. Okay, and the prompt input ref, we have to set it to empty string. Okay, and prompt image URL also I have to set it to undefined. So Axios, did we not import? Okay, Axios. Okay, yep. So this is the create prediction API call to create a shot. Okay, so now as I told, inside here, if this is true, value is not empty, we are going to call create prediction and pass in our project object. Okay, and also we are going to update short template to undefined. Okay, so this is how we are making a call to create a short. Okay, so now let's try. So ideally this should create a short for us. Okay, so let's go to the browser and I want to open inspect section, so to make sure that no API call is failing. So for now I'm going to use the prompt assistance. Let's use this. Okay, so let's use this and call the shoot button. Okay, you see here, I knew the authentication issue is causing, I don't know why this session is not being recognized. So what I will do is, again I'll hardcode the session ID. So this is what it was, right? So I think I have hardcoded in other API calls. Let's check them. Okay, yeah, so I'll take this user ID. Okay, for now, but eventually I have to figure out what is the issue. I will and let you guys know. So going here, so here I'm not going to check this. So here I have to pass the value of user ID. Yep, this one. So now let's check. Okay, so going here, so let's call again. Yep, so you see here the short is trying to create. Okay, but I see a lot of issues. Let's see what is that. Fine, because we are making API call every 5 seconds. Okay, that's that. So you see here we are trying to create a short. Now if I go to the DB and check the shorts table, so you see here, so let's query this. We should see one entry. Yeah, so this is the ID and the prompt which we have used to create a short, and the replicate ID is assigned, and the status is starting, created at this time, updated at project ID, and output URL we are yet to generate, bookmarked is false, and this HD status no, and prediction ID. Okay, so the insert has happened here, and if you see the same for projects here. So if you see credits are decreased by 1. Okay, yep, so that's what I wanted to show. So let's head back to browser and wait for it to complete and see what the image would be generated. Okay, so you don't expect a good image, as I already told you. The images which I uploaded are not good, so we will be seeing some random generated image. Let's wait and check. So if we inspect network tab, so for every 5 seconds we are making that API call, you see here. So let's wait for us to see the image. So after having debugged for some time, identified the issue and rectified it, now we are able to generate the images. Don't complain me about the images generated. As I already mentioned, the images that I fed in were completely vague, so that's the reason it is generating the random thing. So I'm just going to use the some example existing prompt and try to generate this and showcase you the images is getting generated. Okay, so let's wait for this to generate. So the issue was with the get placeholder package version. So I downgraded that from 3.0.0 to 2.5.0. So then the issue got resolved, and also there is an issue with the React medium image zoom controlled section. So for now I have commented that, so there is no zoomed option for us to look at. So I'll figure out that and will let you guys know. Okay, so here, so ideally the image would be generated, and after this, okay, we have a lot of other API calls to handle this reuse style and download this and also generate in 4K and add it to your gallery this, and we have to add the gallery page. And also if you see here, this generate here we have to include OpenAI completion API, okay, to assist to generate the text. Okay, so there's a lot more for us to add to the code base. So after this generation we'll focus on that. And also you see here, once we logged in, this login should not be showcased anymore, so kind of dashboard and the other page whichever we're building, that should be showcased. So here we are going to handle that. Okay, so let's wait for this 2 more minutes. It should get the image. So meanwhile I'll show you what did I change. Okay, so first thing I did was to you see here, where is that placeholder? Okay, I have downgraded this from 3.0.2 to 2.5.0, and after having checked multiple places, this is where it was failing. It was failing while we were passing this output URL to this get placeholder function. So then downgraded that to the workable version. Then we were able to sort it out. Okay, and also now heading back to this short image, there is a problem with this controlled zoom component from React medium image zoom. So we'll figure it out. So for now I commented it and I'm just rendering the image, so there is no zoom on option on the image. Okay, so let's go back to the image. So if you see inspect section and network, okay, so for every 5 seconds an API call will be made to the this one, so as to get the output URL from the replicate client and also the status updation for this particular shard. Okay, so if you see in the preview section, okay, so for every time we are checking for this output URL value and the status value. Okay, so after some time we'll be set and we'll stop that. Okay, based on if there is a value into output URL, and then we are going to stop calling the API. Okay, so if you see this one, okay, so ideally now if you go to our DB and check thing, so there are 3 shots now. Okay, so for 2 of them the URL is assigned, third one we are generating it. Okay, and the status also you can see succeeded. So let's showcase you guys. Yeah, status is succeeded, and for the third one is starting, so let's wait for it to complete. It will take a little more time. Okay, yep, you see the image is generated, and ideally the network calls will also be stopped. Okay, you see, yep. So now if you go to our DB and refresh this, so the status should be marked to succeeded, yes, and the URL is assigned. Okay, yep. So then now the things pending for us is to handle the adding to our gallery to call the bookmark API, and also we should be able to see this bookmarked in separate page, so that page has to be designed. And also here to kickstart the generate 4K version of the image should be used, and this should help us download this, and we should be able to reuse, and the prompt should be populated here and the image should be showcased here. Okay, so those are the things that are pending, and as I mentioned here also the API call handling is pending, so those things we are going to handle now. Okay, yeah.